From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. Our top story tonight. A Muslim woman is suing the Rutherford County, Tennessee sheriff and his officers for allegedly forcing her to remove her hijab for a mugshot. Sophia Johnson was pulled over in Wilson County for a broken taillight and an outstanding warrant for a 6-year-old misdemeanor related to driving with a revoked license. At the Wilson County Sheriff's Office, she was initially allowed to take 2 mugshots, one without her hijab for internal use and another with her hijab for official record. However, when taken to the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office, she was told she could not wear her hijab in the photo. Despite pleading with the officer and explaining her religious beliefs, she was told to remove her hijab. Johnson reluctantly obeyed in front of a female officer, but the male officers saw her without her hijab as well. Johnson's attorney, Daniel Howitz, says her religious rights had been violated. He notes that both First Amendment protections and state and federal laws protect an individual's right to exercise religion. Horowitz says that he requested to remove the hijab was unnecessary and the threat of imprisonment unacceptable. The Rutherford County Sheriff's Office did not respond to inquiries about the incident. The Council on American Islamic Relations is calling for increased vigilance and security measures at the mosques in the Baltimore area. This comes after a second mosque in the region received a threatening call. The Islamic Society of Baltimore canceled evening events and notified local and federal authorities of the threat. CAIR has previously urged increased security measures for Masjid Muhammad in the nation's capital following a bomb threat during Friday prayers. Police responded quickly, evacuating the congregation and conducting a thorough search, but the threat turned out to be unfounded. Similar fake bomb threats against synagogues nationwide are under investigation. CAIR is recommending mosques coordinate with local authorities to strengthen security measures. It is also encouraging religious institutions to apply for the nonprofit security grant program to receive financial assistance. The government program provides funding for physical security enhancements and activities to nonprofits at high risk of terrorist attack. CAIR also advises religious institutions to follow security practices outlined in its Best Practices for Mosque and Community Safety brochure. A coalition of 19 human rights groups has called on the United States to pressure the UAE to release activists ahead of the UN Climate Change Summit, or COP28, scheduled for November in Dubai. The group has asked Secretary of State Antony Blinken to raise the issue with UAE authorities. It's trying to secure the release of Ahmed Mansour and other detained human rights activists. Mansour has been held in solitary confinement for 6 years with no access to reading materials, television, or radio. The coalition says the UAE has a terrible human rights record and the US government has not done enough to hold them accountable. It says Blinken must ensure the UAE meets its human rights obligations. President Joe Biden has urged Congress to pass the Afghan Adjustment Act. Proposed legislation would pave the way for Afghans evacuated to the U.S. after U.S. troop withdrawal in 2021 to become permanent legal residents. The bill would also expand the Afghan Special Immigrant Visa Program and establish a task force to assist Afghans outside the U.S. Biden says Afghans who helped the U.S. during the war contributed to our mission for 20 years and are making a tremendous contribution in our country. He says the U.S. has taken in more than 117,000 new Afghan arrivals since the withdrawal. Joseph Biggs, One of the top leaders of the Proud Boys, was sentenced to 17 years in prison for his role in the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. It is the second longest sentence imposed on a January 6 defendant after the 18-year sentence given to Oath Keepers founder Stewart Rhodes. He was found guilty of seditious conspiracy along with 3 other Proud Boy members. Prosecutors originally had asked for a 33-year sentence, but the judge ordered 17 years. Briggs apologized for his actions and said he wanted to leave the Proud Boys. Prosecutors said Briggs was aware of the consequences of his actions and understood that he was trying to overthrow the government. In the days leading up to the attack, Briggs exchanged text messages with other leaders discussing their plans to storm the Capitol. The Justice Department is prosecuting hundreds of people for their role in the January 6th attack. Scientists have identified the proteins that have led to blood clots during COVID-19 infections. These proteins are also responsible for symptoms such as brain fog and memory loss. In a study published in Nature Medicine, researchers found a link between these 2 blood clotting proteins and the cognitive deficits that last up to a year after infection. Maxime Taquet of the University of Oxford and his team analyzed data from thousands of adult COVID-19 patients admitted to a UK hospital in 2020 and 2021. They found patients with higher levels of one of the proteins during hospitalization had more cognitive problems later on. There is no strong evidence that treating these proteins or blood clotting can prevent long-term COVID. Bangladeshi scientists unveil measures to save newborns. Details after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Bangladeshi scientists unveiled research that could save more than 5 million newborn lives and prevent more than 500,000 stillbirths in developing countries. Dr. Ahmed Ahsanur Rahman, one of the researchers, presented 8 interventions. He believes not only will these save lives of newborns, but also lead to long-term health improvements. They're expected to cost more than $1 billion by 2030 and could prevent greater than 5 million premature births annually. The recommended interventions include micronutrients and balanced protein energy supplements. Others include the use of aspirin, syphilis treatment, smoking education, and malaria prevention in pregnancy. Of the 135 million live births in 2021, over 35 million were classified as small at-risk newborns, a large proportion of them in South Asia and the Sub-Saharan Africa. The findings were presented at the leading health journal, The Lancet. Over 50% of Swedes support a ban on burning the Quran and other holy books. The rise in public support comes as the Swedish government is considering introducing legislation to prevent provocative acts targeting the Islamic scripture. It has said it will review the Public Order Act to prevent increasing attacks on the Quran in the country. The main opposition, Social Democratic Party, has also said it is considering an amendment to the Public Order Act that could make such provocations a hate crime. In addition, Denmark is considering a ban on attacks on holy books. The Danish Justice Minister said that the sole purpose of such attacks is to incite hatred and sow discord. The proposal to ban attacks on holy books in Denmark is to be presented to Parliament in September and voted on in October. The proposed bans are seen as a means of protecting religious freedom and preventing the spread of hatred and division. The recent increase in attacks on the Quran in Sweden and Denmark has drawn global criticism. The new school year begins in France Monday with a ban on abayas, a loose-fitting garment usually worn by Muslim girls. Education Minister Gabriel Attai says female students wearing an abaya would be allowed to enter the school but would not be allowed to attend classes. Instead, they would be sent for a talk about their choice of dress. Attai claims that the ban was necessary to uphold France's secular values and ensure all students are treated equally. He says that the abaya is not a traditional French garment and should be seen as a sign of religious extremism. The ban has been criticized by some Muslim groups who call it discriminatory. It is the latest in a series of measures by the French government targeting Muslims. In recent years, the government has also banned the wearing of the niqab, a face-covering veil, in public spaces. It has also raided mosques and charitable foundations. 9 Pakistani soldiers were killed and 5 injured on Thursday as a motorcycle suicide bomber targeted their convoy. The attack was in the general area of Jani Khal in Bannu district, in the northwestern part of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in Pakistan. Officials say the area has been cordoned off by security forces and is being cleared of terrorists. Dozens of security personnel have been killed in recent months in clashes and suicide bombings. Most of them have been claimed by Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, an umbrella of militant groups in Pakistan. Islamabad has accused Afghanistan-based militants of unleashing a new spate of terrorism in Pakistan. A mural honoring slain Palestinian-American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh has been unveiled in Bethlehem. Abu Akleh's family, colleagues, and local dignitaries attended the event. Abu Akleh was shot dead by an Israeli soldier last year while reporting from Jenin. No one has been held responsible for her death. Walid Al-Umari from Al Jazeera's Ramallah bureau emphasized the symbolic message of the mural. He promised to continue working for justice for veteran Al Jazeera reporter. Participants underlined the importance of the mural for all victims of the Israeli occupation. Bethlehem Mayor Hena Hanania paid tribute to Abu Akleh as a representative of the city and a martyr of truth for the Palestinian cause. A UN group has found more evidence of forced disappearances of Uyghurs in occupied East Turkistan. The UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention says China has intensified its crackdown in the area since 2017. That has affected the region's Turkic-speaking residents. An estimated 900,000 to 1.8 million Uyghurs and other Muslims of Turkic descent have been detained in high-security camps. There, they have been subjected to severe human rights abuses. China claims it closed these camps by 2019, but other evidence suggests the system has evolved, releasing some detainees and imprisoning others. From 2017 to 2022, more than 540,000 people were prosecuted in what is known as Xinjiang. Details about the condition of detainees are difficult to ascertain due to information restrictions imposed by the Chinese government. That's all from our Washington, D.C. studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.